Hello peeps. As you see in the title, today marks, well, a couple days from now marks my 2-year anniversary with old Rappy here. I have about almost 16,000 miles on the truck, so I thought I'd give you guys a little brief review of what I think of the truck, having owned it for this long. I'm on my way currently to the historic city of Pontiac, Michigan. Well, it used to be a pretty nice city. It's kind of gone downhill, but I thought it'd be a cool place to film, with the backdrop for this review. Today is Super Bowl Sunday. It's 2:30 in the afternoon. The game starts in like 4 hours, I think. So my theory was today would be a good day to go out and do this review, since there wouldn't be many people on the roads. But apparently I was wrong, and it's also snowing pretty heavily right now, so people are driving a little crazy. But anyway, so let's get right into it. What do I like about the truck? I think number one is definitely the power. It does have the EcoBoost engine in it, as you know, with a 10-speed transmission, putting out 450 horsepower and 510 foot-pounds at the crank. That's a good amount of power in a truck. It's by no means a light truck. The Super Cab weighs in at 5,600 pounds approximately, which is what I have, and then the Super Crew is a couple hundred pounds more than that. But it still gets up and goes pretty easily. I know it's not a race truck, but very often I'll be at a light or something and the guy next to me will rev up his engine, and of course I like racing people, so I'll usually race them. I've beat many cars that I didn't think I would be able to beat, and also kept up pretty decently with some. Just 2 days ago I was driving actually with 3 passengers in the vehicle, and we were on the interstate and I saw a vehicle flying up on me in the rearview mirror, and he got up next to me and slowed down and started giving me a thumbs up because I guess he liked the looks of the vehicle. But it was a new Durango SRT with the 6.4 in it, and they're no joke. I mean, that's a 475 horsepower vehicle. But anyway, he wanted to race, so we went at it on the interstate, and it was dead even for a while, and he started to pull away a little bit once we got up to higher speeds. But that's just one example of a vehicle, but all the time people want to race. Anyway, that's my favorite thing about the truck, is the power. What else do I like about the truck? The different modes. This is actually a really good time to talk about this because I'm using weather mode currently. I don't know if you can see, but there's a little snowflake symbol and next to the steering wheel on my dash. It's in weather mode right now, which means it limits your boost. So I think it's like 8 or 10 pounds of boost. Throttle response is awful for normal driving. It's just, you got to give it a lot of throttle to get it to move, and they do that intentionally to make the vehicle feel a little heavier, make you a little more cautious. This person needs to stop. But yeah, that's one of the things. Traction control has greatly modified the settings for it. It catches you slipping very quickly, and it'll brake on wheels that are sliding, or at least limit power to them. If you get sideways, it'll brake on the outside wheels, so it straightens you out pretty easily. Anyway, it works very nicely. The one thing I don't like about weather mode is if you're in a situation where you need to get, you need to move your vehicle out of the way. For example, this blue truck up here at the light, I don't know if you see it, he's turning left. If he saw a gap in traffic where he could make his left turn, but it wasn't a very big gap and he had to kind of get on it and get out of the way, he would probably have an issue in weather mode, because it cuts power very aggressively when you spin. So you'll hit the gas, try to accelerate out of the way, and then it cuts power and you feel like you just lost all your power, and the vehicle just almost comes to a stop before there's a few second delay, and then it'll come back again. So it's kind of scary. I've seen people on the forums complaining about it too, but you just have to drive accordingly. Be prepared for what's coming ahead of you. So yeah, the weather mode is a nice one. Sport mode is awesome. It makes really the shifts are very quick and clean. It's a little jerky, but that's the goal of it. It doesn't slip into different gears. It's just very aggressive. You're in one gear and boom, next second you're in the next. It also does not skip shift, so it'll go from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 all the way through the gears, all the way up to 10th gear. Whereas normal mode will skip from 1 to 3, 3 to 5, and then above 5, I think it just goes, it hits every gear. But that's one of the cool things about sport mode. The rest of the modes I haven't used very much. Rock crawl I've never used in this truck. I used it when I was in the Raptor Assault program. earlier last year, in April of last year, but I really haven't used it. Baja mode I've used just for fun around, you know, when I'm off-road anywhere, whether it's sand dunes or trails or whatever. I just kind of play around with it. But yeah, so that's the other thing I like about the truck. Another big thing is the looks of the truck. I mean, I think it's a pretty good looking truck, maybe one of the best looking trucks out there right now, and it gets a lot of attention from people. They'll be driving next to you, slow down, take pictures, or give you a thumbs up. Every time I'm getting gas, or most of the times when I'm getting gas, people ask me about it. And even, you know, non-truck owners are pretty impressed by the looks of it, so that's kind of a cool thing. I can't really think of anything else to say for likes. I mean, overall, I'm very satisfied with the truck. Otherwise, I wouldn't have it a year later. But I kind of wanted to talk about the things I don't like about the truck, because there's a few of them that have been bothering me a little bit. The first one is gas mileage. I know everyone says, oh, you bought a Raptor, you shouldn't be worried about gas mileage, and it's a toy truck, or it's made for having fun. That's not necessarily true. You still use it. I use it, like, for example, when I want to go to the sand dunes. I live 3 hours. I live in Detroit, Michigan. So I'm 3 hours away from the closest sand dunes, which is Silver Lake sand dunes on Lake Michigan. So when I'm driving there, I'm not trailering the vehicle. I'm driving it there. I'll throw the dirt bikes in the back, or a quad, or whatever, or throw a trailer behind it. So I still worry about my fuel economy. I don't want to be stopping every few hundred miles for gas. Right now you can see I'm averaging 14.2 mpgs. That's about a little lower than I normally do. If I go to my lifetime, that's over this fuel tank as well. I reset it at every tank. But I do have a Trip A, which is almost the life of the truck. It has 300 hours on it. For some reason, the mileage reset on it once it hit some high number. I don't know if it was like 10,000 or what it was. But anyway, the lifetime of the truck is showing 15.3 miles per gallon average. That's about more what I get tank to tank, and that is off by 1.5 miles per gallon when I calculate it by filling up the fuel and dividing my miles by the fuel. So it's a little off. So I'm really averaging around 14, right around 14 miles per gallon. So I think that's kind of, you know, way under what they advertise. But it is what it is. I'm gonna go this way. Yeah, it is what it is. I mean, that's the nature of the beast. So I kind of live with it. It's annoying when you have to put 93 octane in, and this super cab only has a 23 gallon gas tank. So I'm constantly filling it up. Every 350 miles or so I have to fill it up. What else do I not like about the truck? The transmission. That is a big point. The transmission on this thing, it is the 10-speed. It's all new, or it was all new for 2017. Now it's made its way into a bunch of other Ford vehicles as well as GM vehicles. The new Yukon and Tahoe, and also their Camaro ZL1, I believe. It's that joint venture transmission that GM and Ford collaborated on. Tuning's different between the two, but hardware is pretty similar. Anyway, the transmission, the things I don't like about it are, first of all, when the vehicle's cold. I've noticed this a lot this winter. When the vehicle is cold and you are first starting your drive, you fire it up, let it warm up, whatever, get in, put it in drive, and start rolling. The shift from first to third, when you're in normal mode, it skips from first to third. It is a very rough shift. It will jerk you back, and the engine revs up really high and then drops down very quickly. So it's pretty aggressive. It needs to be toned down quite a bit, but it only does that, like I said, when it's really cold. If you drive for a couple minutes and then try again, it's fine. Another thing is that I don't like about the transmission is when you're trying to accelerate pretty aggressively, but then say, for example, you're trying to pass someone and then someone else cuts you off and you have to let off really quickly. It's kind of a false acceleration. The transmission freaks out, does not know what to do. It ends up cutting power, and then you get back in it again and it doesn't do anything for, you know, a good 2 or 3 seconds sometimes. And that's very frustrating when you're trying to pass someone and you have no power because the transmission's thinking of what gear it needs to be in. And again, that's just a tuning, a calibration issue, and not necessarily hardware, I don't think. But yeah, those are the things I don't like about the transmission. Also, and this one is done intentionally by Ford, I've read, the drive to reverse and reverse to drive shifts. Like if you're rolling backwards and you're in reverse, and then you want to go forward again, you put it in drive and you're still rolling even a little bit, or even if you're not rolling, there's a delay. There's like a 3-second delay maybe not that much, maybe 2 to 3 seconds for you to get into gear. And they do that intentionally, I think, so people actually come to a complete stop before shifting. I'm sure that people have been doing damage to transmissions by shifting them while they're rolling. So, okay, we're done with the transmission issue. I don't really know where I'm going, I'm just driving around, so. Another thing is the sound system in this vehicle is horrendous. I do have the 801 package, 801A, which is not the top of the line one that has the Sony system in it. But I've been in Sony vehicles and they are just as bad. Or maybe not just as bad, but they're nothing to brag about compared to many other manufacturers. FCA, you know, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep vehicles have excellent sound systems compared to what Ford is offering right now. Even GM. So that's another thing that I don't like about it, is the sound system. I'm about to get, probably one of my next mods is going to be a subwoofer in the back. I'll probably change out speakers eventually as well, Alpador speakers. Okay, the last point, which is to me the most important one of all these points, the things that I don't like about the truck, is the rear end, how light it feels. And what I mean by that is, if you're, for example, on the interstate and there's a big large sweeping turn, you know, to the left or to the right, and there's bumps in the road, a lot of them have expansion joints, or they'll have you know, where people have repaired the roads with like concrete strips or whatnot. If you're going over bumps like that, even small ones, while you're at a turn and at high speed, the whole rear end just hops, and it's very scary. The first time it happened to me, it was very scary, but I'm still not used to it. It still does it all the time. In fact, yesterday it caught me off guard a bunch of times. I was coming home on one of the local interstates, 75, and it just has really bad holes in the road, like potholes and bumps and things like that. And the vehicle was just, every time you hit a bump, the whole thing would sidestep by a few inches and then grip again. And if you do that over and over again, you end up pushing the vehicle, you know, almost into the next lane. Luckily there wasn't a lot of traffic, so I was able to slow down a bit, and I wasn't even going over the speed limit. It's just, that's just how the truck behaves. And that's not just specific to the Raptor, that's all F-150s with the new aluminum bodies. I have a red F-150 also, a 2016, and it's got a 2.7 liter V6 in it, EcoBoost, but it does the exact same thing. It's just light and bouncy, and it didn't used to be like that with Ford vehicles. My last truck was a 2010 F-150 with a 4.6 in it. Anyway, it did not used to do that at all. It was much more stable, more planted feeling, similar to how Ram and Silverado trucks feel. So that's another thing I really don't like about this. One fix for it I've read online is Deaver springs in the rear, leaf springs, so you swap them out with those. They're supposed to help a lot. They're almost $2,000 I think last time I checked, so I don't see them anytime. I don't see them in my foreseeable future, at least for a while. Yeah, that's about all of the things I don't like about the truck. Let's talk about issues. So I haven't really had many issues with the truck. The only one I could think of was, I'm actually reading off the paper here. I took some notes of things to touch on because I have a pretty bad memory, but the only one I could think of when I sat down and thought about this was the oil pan gasket leak, and that seems to have hit a lot of people. Not necessarily, or not specifically the Raptor crowd, but the EcoBoost engines. They have the issue where you'll be, you know, you can drive it normally, no abusive driving or anything like that, and the oil pans develop an oil leak. Apparently the gasket material that they use from the factory is very thinly put on. Sometimes it has some gaps in it, so it'll start to leak. But I didn't even notice mine, to be honest. It has a skid plate under, and there were no leaks in my driveway or anything. Even the oil level seemed fine, but when I took it to the dealership one time for an oil change, since I have a few years of oil changes with my package that I bought. Anyway, took it to the dealership and they informed me that there was an oil leak and all the oil was catching in the skid plate under the oil pan. So that's the reason I didn't notice it, but they were able to repair it for me. It took a couple days. I took it to the dealership and they gave me a loaner car or whatever, but they ended up pulling the pan off. They had to take the skid plates off, obviously, pull the pan off, clean up the old gasket, clean up everything from all the oil leaking, and then redo the gasket material. It's, you know, the liquid gasket type stuff, I think is what they use. It's not a one-piece gasket like some vehicles use. Yeah, and then they let it dry for a day as well, and then I went and picked it up and it was fine, good as new. But I've heard of people having the issue multiple times. Someone on the forums actually has had the issue 3 or 4 times, but he's very decent on his truck. I mean, I applaud him for doing what he does to his truck. He goes out, you know, to Baja and a bunch of off-road sites, and very cool. Yeah, he beats the snot out of his truck, but that's still not a reason for it to be leaking all the time. So Ford, you need to get your stuff together. I think that's about all I wanted to talk about. I wanted to show you my modifications, so I'm gonna go to a location right now where I can get out and film the outside of the vehicle. I want to show you all the different things I've done to the truck. A lot of my previous videos have shown my modifications one step at a time, but for those who haven't seen them, I just want to show them all at one time and talk briefly about them. So I'll be right back. All right, I made it to my spot where I wanted to show you guys. You can hear the power lines buzzing right around here. There's power lines right above us. But yeah, modifications to the vehicle. So I have, first thing that shows is the wheels. These are Method race wheel. They're grids in 17-inch. This is a simulated beadlock wheel. The next thing, yeah, so they stick out about 1.5 inches more than factory. I have another video on them that you can check out. Next thing is the Icon perch collars. You can see it right there under the Fox shock. Kind of hard to see on that side. Let me come around this side. Yeah, right there. It's got ice all over it, but it lifts the front end of the vehicle. I have it set to 1.75 inches right now, so it makes it level with the back pretty much. Another thing I just recently installed, my latest mod, is jam handles. They go right here, this green thing on the door. And basically the purpose of it is when you're closing your door, instead of putting your fingers on the outside of the door and scratching up your paint or whatever, you grab in here and you can just close the door that way. Let's go around to the back. I added a tailgate. I don't know if it's unlocked right now. No, let me hit unlock real quick. But it's a tailgate assist shock thing. It makes the tailgate come down without you having to hold on to it. So I'll show you. See? So that's it right there. It's made by DZ. So that's about all it does. Close this guy up. Next, as you can hear, I have Corsa Performance exhaust on it. That includes a Corsa muffler as well as a resonator delete, and it replaces it with an X-pipe, which is kind of weird for a turbo engine to have a X-pipe, since the turbos kind of get rid of all the pulsations. But anyway, I don't know if you can see it very well. There's the muffler, and the X-pipe is under here somewhere. I can't see what I'm pointing the camera at, so somewhere over there. Another thing I have, you can see in the back here, is my little D-shackle. I added that and painted it green to match with my Raptor Graphics decals on the back and my claw marks on the sides. What else is there? I got a Christmas present from my friend Shane, who owns the Nissan, a turboed Nissan hardbody, little red truck. I have some videos of it. Anyway, for Christmas he got me this little air compressor from Viair, I think it's how it's pronounced. It's supposed to be a pretty nice one for when I air down for dunes and stuff like that. So haven't used it yet, but it's nice to have. So very small, fits right under the seat in this little storage area. I have a fire extinguisher back here, just in case anything happens. Some bungee straps over there. That's about it. The vehicle really needs to be cleaned. It's pretty disgusting inside and out, but it's wintertime, so excuse me for that. So yeah, that's about all I have done to my truck, mods-wise. One thing I wanted to mention is I'm on Instagram. If any of you want to check my page out, it's bad_rap_gen2. I'll post a link to it in the description or somewhere in the video. But yeah, check me out on Instagram. I post stuff. I try to post stuff every day or every other day or so, either a picture or video or something with the truck. Also, I'm working on a cool project right now. I'm working on a new video filmed in Detroit of the truck, so I want you guys to check that out. It should be dropping here in another week or so, but I put a lot of effort into it, so I'm hoping you guys will check it out and like it. If you do, I can try to make more. If not, no big deal. I'll just figure figure something else out. So, hope you like the video. Let me give you guys a few revs because a lot of people like hearing this thing. It's not the greatest sounding truck, but it's not bad. Here we go. Kind of hear the turbos in the front of the vehicle. So that's it. Thanks for watching, guys.